prayers.
Let us bow ahead as we quiet our mind, our heart, and our soul, our entire beings in the presence of God. As the body preparing for this time, a great moment in our country, our people, our administration here and abroad, are waiting to hear the good news about this fiscal year budget. So seek God's divine guidance as we do so quietly, where the whole country joining us, asking God for a breakthrough, for deliverance. And so, God, we stand before a throne of grace at this time here in this place, the Cultural Center, for this year budget. For those who are called, God, to serve, have come, God, together here for this presentation. In a time where the world is struggling with finance, and here, God, in Montserrat, we are very grateful, God, to you for providing for all our needs. As we meet now, God, at this time, for this, God, presentation, we pray your blessings upon the premier as we have called him, O God, to serve in this capacity, and his team, working alongside with him for this year budget. As he does so now, God, at this time, we pray for your anointing upon him, O God, as he made, O God, this presentation. He may do so, God, with clarity, giving hope to our people who are waiting for good news, for our country to grow from strength to strength financially. We pray your blessings upon him, O God, as we seek to serve in this way. Bless also the opposition members who have the part to play as well in this presentation. And they have received, God, the document to study it and go through it accordingly. Prepare for questions, for clarification, and also, God, understanding as well. We pray for your blessings, God, upon us together. They may, God, do what is best for this whole country of Montserrat. Bless them all, God, in a very marked and special way. If you know, God, the one who's going to lead, God, this proceeding, the Speaker of the House, and the team, you will give her, God, the courage, conviction, determination to do so according to your will. Help her, God, to be strong as she's been called to serve a country. To do so, not according to her own will or the will of others, but according to your will, the will of her one who called her for such a task. And so, God, bless this evening presentation. Take full control of the atmosphere. And bless those, of God, who are listening and waiting and praying for such great news. That all will go well according to your will and to your way. Holy Spirit, we welcome you in this place. Bless your people. Bless our country of Montserrat. One people, one flag, one God, now and forevermore. Amen.
I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Good afternoon, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I rise to move a motion for the amendment of the order paper, asking that number 8 motions be brought up to number 4, and that all other items following be numbered consequentially.
I recognize the Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion that the amendment to the order paper, that number 8 be moved to number 4 and the other items be continued sequentially.
There's a motion on the floor that the order paper be amended to move number 8, item 8 up, and all other items to follow sequentially. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. The order paper has been amended.
Confirmation of minutes.
Members, you have before you minute number 1 of 2021, dated Tuesday, 2nd February 2021. If there are no changes, can it be moved and seconded that they be accepted? I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to move a motion for the adoption of minutes number 1 of 2020, dated Tuesday, 2nd February 2021. Sorry, minutes number 1 of 2021, sorry. Dated Tuesday, 2nd February 2021.
I recognize the Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion for confirmation of minutes number 1 of 2021, dated Tuesday, 2nd February 2021.
Members, there's a motion on the floor for the acceptance of minutes number 1 of 2021, dated February 2, 2021. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Then the ayes have it. The minutes will be accepted as. I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Madam Speaker, I rise to move a motion for the adoption, for the confirmation of minutes number 2 of 2021, dated Tuesday, 23rd March 2021.
I recognize the Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion for confirmation of minutes number 2 of 2021, dated Tuesday, 23rd March 2021.
The motion on the floor has been moved and seconded that we adopt minutes number 2 of 2021, dated Tuesday, 23rd March 2021. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, nay. Then the ayes have it. Minutes number 2 of 2021, dated Tuesday, 23rd March 2021, has been adopted.
Papers to be laid on the table.
I recognize the Honourable Financial Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to lay on the table of this Honourable House papers appearing in the name of the Financial Secretary. Draft budget estimates of expenditure and revenue 2021-2022. Schedule of environments number 1 to 3 of April 2019 to March 2020. Schedule of environments numbers 1 and 2 of April 2020 to March 2021. Schedule of environments number 3 of April 2020 to March 2021. Financial statements for the St. Augustine Primary School for the fiscal year ended August 31st, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2013. Financial statements for the Philatelic Bureau Limited for the year ended 31st December 2009. Financial statement for the Montserrat Philatelic Bureau Limited for the year ended 31st March 2011, 2012, and 2013. Financial statements for the Montserrat Land Development Authority, Government of Montserrat Housing Stock for the year ended 31st March 2018. Information Security Audit of John A. Osborne Airport, Air Traffic Control Comsoft's Aeronautical Data Access System, and SRNO number 31 of 2021, Public Hospital Amendment Regulations 2021. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the Honorable Attorney General.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to lay on the table of this Honorable House the following papers appearing under the name of the Attorney General. SRNO number 30 of 2021, Public Health, COVID-19 Suppression, number 10, Amendment number 3 Order 2021. Montserrat Complaints Commission Annual Report 2013 to 2020, and Electoral Commission Annual Report 2019 to 2020. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Motions.
I recognize the Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to move a motion for the first reading of the bill entitled Appropriation Bill number 2021-22. Sorry. Yeah. Appropriation Bill, yeah, 2021.
I recognize the Honorable Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion for the first reading of the bill shortly entitled Appropriation Bill 2021.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill shortly entitled Appropriation Bill 2021 be read a first time.
Appropriation Bill 2021.
I recognize the Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to move a motion for the suspension of the relevant standing order which provides for the second and third reading of Finance Bill during the sessions of the House.
I recognize the Honorable Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, I rise. Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion for the suspension of the relevant standing orders to allow the second and third reading of the bill to take place at the same time.
There's a motion on the floor, it has been seconded, for the suspension of the relevant standing orders which allows for the second and third reading of the appropriation bill. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. The relevant standing orders has been suspended. I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Madam Speaker, Ministers of Government, Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Financial Secretary, Honourable Attorney General, members of the Opposition, Sergeant at Arms, Clerk of the Legislative Assembly, members of the local and international audience listening by radio and or the World Wide Web, and members present. Members of the media, good afternoon. Madam Speaker, I rise to move a motion for the second reading of the bill entitled Appropriation Bill 2021-2022. This bill presents the draft estimates of revenue and expenditure of the Legislative Assembly for financial year 2021. Madam Speaker, it would be remiss of me to take this afternoon's proceedings forward without first thanking Almighty God for his continued blessings on Montserrat. Indeed, Madam Speaker, he continues to shower us with his grace and mercy in a time when the world seems to be faced with insurmountable challenges. Even in these times, Madam Speaker, Montserrat can look to the light at the end of the tunnel. Rest assured by the words stated in Job chapter 8 and verse 7. Although your former states are ordinary, your future will be extraordinary. Madam Speaker, during the last financial year, my administration reaffirmed its commitment to rebuild the economy, restore hope, and empower our peoples as we pursue the ambitious 2020 budget under the theme, Building Montserrat Economy in a Digital Age. At the start of the fiscal year, we promised several transformational projects, and today, Madam Speaker, I am pleased to report we have not failed the people of Montserrat. Madam Speaker, we are on track to deliver the new Little Bay Port Facility and a new fit-for-purpose hospital. We have completed resurfacing of the airport runway and are on track to complete construction of the new air traffic control tower. We are also on track for the refurbishment of Block L&M at the Montserrat Secondary School. We are on track to become 100% sustainable in renewable energy. We have improved beaches and trails and invested in training for tourism businesses, and taken this one step further with the launch of the Remote Workers Program as Montserrat seeks to compete as a niche location in the new COVID-sensitive global tourism environment. We are developing designs and modules for sustained future social housing. We are actively engaging the telecom services and service providers to improve our communication network and to create technology partnership in our people, for our people's benefit. In short, Madam Speaker, the progress has been nothing short but remarkable when you place it against the context of COVID-19. While some projects' milestones have been impacted, the talented men and women of the public service and private contractors have demonstrated impressive project management ability and agility in ensuring we keep up the momentum. Madam Speaker, as we look ahead, This budget recognizes the global health and economic crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the significant implications for Montserrat's development. The uncertainty of the duration of the crisis and the global economic recession demand that we take stock of the lessons learned thus far and use them to build our resilience to withstand global shocks like this in the future while advancing our development agenda. Madam Speaker, in order to become resilient to unprecedented catastrophes such as COVID-19, we must adopt new models of innovation, planning, project implementation, and to how we live, learn, work, and engage with each other. There must be a cultural shift, Madam Speaker, if everything that we do, and our peoples have experienced this already. COVID-19 is not going away anytime soon. We have entered a new normal in which we must live and grow alongside uncertainty and evolving scientific understanding. We must act now to advance our economic, environment, and social well-being development while building on the lessons of the recent crisis and those we have survived before. Madam Speaker, we can do it. We have done it already, and we can do it again as we march boldly into the next chapter under the theme, Beyond the New Normal, Recovery, Growth, and Opportunity in the Age of COVID-19. Madam Speaker, our pursuit of the development priorities of 2021-2022 will ensure our recovery and lay the foundation that in time will secure Montserrat's sustained economic growth. The priorities for this period, Madam Speaker, developing and implementing appropriate sector strategies for priority sectors, renewable energy, tourism, access, and agro-processing, managing projects to deliver priority infrastructure for economic growth, such as the hospital project and the port project. We are improving educational outcomes for regional and international competitiveness and sustainable livelihoods. We wish to enhance youth development through an improved apprenticeship program. We will develop and implement strategies to remove obstacles to doing business, thereby enabling growth. We'll also, Madam Speaker, develop and implement plans that elevate the island from recovery mode to sustainable self-sufficiency. We'll seek to unlock sectorial resource for business development, investment promotion, and trade facilitation. We will seek to preserve Montserrat's reputation as a just, safe, and secure place to live and visit. We will seek, Madam Speaker, to increase access to essential and specialized medical services through leveraging of technology and direct service provision. We'll also seek to increase and expand health promotion services to reduce health concerns, to reduce the incidences and effects of non-communicable diseases, and to improve the care of the elderly. Finally, Madam Speaker, we will ensure the sustainability of the Social Security Fund. Madam Speaker, the end of 2020 signifies the end of the development period covered by the Montserrat Sustainable Development Plan, the SDP 2008-2020. This milestone also signals a time to reflect and a time to plan as a unified people. It is perhaps opportune time, Madam Speaker, that the formulation of our new National Development Plan coincides with the lessons being derived from the global pandemic. This pandemic has given rise to new niche markets and expounded the need to diversify. It has amplified the importance of food and energy security. Madam Speaker, it has tested the limits of our social protection systems and exposed new vulnerabilities. But we have a unique opportunity to assess and reconfirm or revise our vision and goals so that we can turn obstacles into opportunities. Madam Speaker, as we mobilize the local and overseas population for the formulation of the new Sustainable Development Plan, a key piece of work has concluded, being the 2008 to 2020 SDP Review Report, which directly targets the general public to provide an overview of how we performed in our pursuit of the SDP goals. In keeping with established practice, Madam Speaker, my presentation of this fiscal package will be preceded by the current international, regional, and local economic context. This will follow by an overview of the key achievements and planned activities within the purview of the National Development Goals, thus presenting the rationale for the budget for this fiscal year 2021-2022. And in closing, Madam Speaker, I will lay before this Honourable House the estimate recurrent revenue and expenditures and capital items for 2021-2022. Madam Speaker, at this point, I reach out once more to each public servant, to each business leader, to each worker, to each parent and student, to each member of the diaspora, to each prospective investor, and ask that you join us to build a green and inclusive economy, more resilience than before. Join us in being brave and big and bold to secure a future that is extraordinary. Madam Speaker, together we can. Madam Speaker, I now take us through the international context for which this budget speech is being framed. Global economy has been under a sustained attack from COVID-19 pandemic. This virus has caused a global public health crisis and has led to a global recession. No country has been left unaffected by the crisis, which first began in late 2019. The extent of the damage caused by the virus was not foreseen, which has led to many countries being completely unprepared to deal with the health and financial fallout caused by the pandemic. 2020 was a year characterized by the development of responsive policies, initiatives to curb the transmission rate of the virus. Madam Speaker, developed countries such as China, the United States, and the United Kingdom all implemented national shutdowns and curfews to varying success. The shutdowns led to a near-complete halt of economic activities within countries as citizens were told to stay home and avoid any non-essential human contacts. Social distancing has also been an important intervention to reduce the spread of the virus. Madam Speaker, the closure of national borders and the imposition of quarantine protocols have sought to reduce global travel and prevent carriers of the virus from spreading to the wider community. Unfortunately, such measures have been completely disastrous for global travel and the tourism industry. The World Tourism Organization data shows that 2020 was the worst year in record for global tourism. These restrictions, together with low travel confidence and slow virus containment, led to international tourist arrivals declining by 74% in 2020. This compares, Madam Speaker, with a 4% decline recorded during the 2009 global economic crisis. Madam Speaker, while these initiatives have been necessary to slow transmission of the virus, they have been accompanied by large economic costs. The World Economic Outlook estimates that global growth contracted by minus 3.5% in 2020, 0.9 percentage point higher than initially forecasted. Specifically, Madam Speaker, the United Kingdom has experienced an estimated GDP growth rate of minus 10%. This economic decline was deeper than what was seen during the 2008 financial crisis, and has also had specific adverse impacts on a larger cross-section of the society, namely women, youth, the poor, the informally employed, and those who work in contact-intensive sectors. They have suffered significantly. They, Madam Speaker, have faced the brunt of this health crisis. Madam Speaker, policies across the world have recognized these impacts and have attempted to develop expansionary fiscal and monetary measures to soften the economic blow caused by the virus. There has been a large expansion of social safety nets in most developed countries. For example, Madam Speaker, the United Kingdom government has invested more than $280 billion in protecting jobs and livelihoods since the start of the pandemic. Many states within the United States of America increased their value of unemployment benefit. The federal government also implemented a fiscal stimulus package that provides direct monetary support to citizens through the provision of a $600 stimulus check. However, Madam Speaker, these initiatives come with large fiscal costs, which have led to an increase in the debt-to-GDP ratio of many economies. As highlighted in the previous budget, the health of the United Kingdom economy is critical for us. Not only does the UK provide aid, but they're also a key tourism market for Montserrat and other countries within the region. United Kingdom currently level of debt is around 99.4% of GDP. And this is a potential concern for us here in Montserrat. This, Madam Speaker, is the highest debt-to-ratio since 1962 in the United Kingdom. And it is forecasted to get even worse. Madam Speaker, the increase in the United Kingdom's national debt and the readjustment of priorities considering the current pandemic has meant the country had to make tough financial decisions. And this has led to the overseas aid budget being cut from 0.7% of national GDP to 0.5%, representing a shortfall of $10 billion. And while the government of Montserrat is generally reassured that Montserrat will continue to be a priority, with confirmation of the same level of recurrent aid, these reductions in the overseas aid budget could potentially impact future negotiations with our development partners. Madam Speaker, the global economic outlook is still heavily dependent on how well countries control the ongoing public health pandemic. There have been vaccines approvals, and many countries have well advanced their vaccination programs. However, there have been renewed waves of the discovery of new variants of the virus, which are even more contagious. Considering this dichotomy, Madam Speaker, the strength of recovery is certainly going to be very significant across countries. There is likely to be a large divergence between the recovery of advanced economies and developing economies. Those economies which are going to have access to the required medical intervention and provide effective policy will likely fare better. Amongst current uncertainties, the IMF forecasts that the global economy will grow by 5.5% in 2021 and 4.2% in 2022. Despite these positive figures, it will be some time before we return to 2019 levels of output. Madam Speaker, as the vaccine uptake improves and the consumer continues and confidence continues to be built, it is expected that countries will slowly remove their travel restrictions. These developments could potentially lead to travel slowly normalizing during 2021. However, the recovery of the global travel and tourism industry remains uncertain. For example, most travel and tourism experts do not expect to see a return to pre-pandemic tourism levels before 2023. Despite this, the government of Montserrat, Madam Speaker, will ensure that our tourism product is well placed to take advantage of an increase in international travel in 2021. Global commodity prices, Madam Speaker, are relevant to Montserrat. Due to our need to import fuel for vehicles and energy. Therefore, it should be noted that oil prices are expected to rise in 2021 by over 20% from their 2020 lows. This will likely translate to an increase in the cost of fuel by the citizens of Montserrat. While the government of Montserrat has no direct control over this, the government intends to continue to invest in alternate sustainable energy resources. Initiatives such as the new solar farm in Lookout and the geothermal wells in Corkill will provide the island with a much-needed future buffer. Montserrat is a part of the deeply connected global world. Due to these economic links, what happens globally, Madam Speaker, has clear implications for our own island. This is why the government must continue to monitor global economic trends. This will allow us to mitigate as best as possible against global changes which could have adverse effect on our islands. Madam Speaker, I now turn to the regional context. Of course, our member states within the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union have not been able to insulate themselves from the economic effects of the current global pandemic. Many of our neighbors already had weakened economies due to previous natural disasters and high levels of public debt. This has meant that the pandemic has further weakened economies that were already in a precarious position. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank had initially estimated a growth rate of 3.2% for the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union countries collectively. Unfortunately, the breadth and depth of the pandemic ensured that this growth rate did not materialize. The final record growth rate for the ECCU countries in 2020 was minus 16.8%. Essentially, Madam Speaker, the ECCU has experienced a record-breaking decline in economic activity, and it is clear at this stage that it will take years for ECC Union members to return to pre-pandemic levels of output. The slowdown in economic activity has led to an increase in poverty and the weakening of other microeconomic indicators. Those within lower socioeconomic groups have certainly been the main victims of this public health and economic crisis. The ILO in 2020 estimates that the crisis has caused unemployment within Latin America and the Caribbean to rise significantly from 8.5% in 2019 to 10.2% in 2020. It is also expected to rise further in 2021 as the coronavirus continues to halt economic activities. Madam Speaker, uncertainty continues to plague the region and is likely to continue deeper into 2021. Tourism, which is the most significant sector for many of our neighbors, was completely decimated in 2020. The outlook for tourism in 2021 remains very precarious and dependent on several factors, with many experts forecasting that tourism is likely to return to pre-pandemic levels before 2023. The contribution of the sector to regional GDP will likely continue to be heavily subdued. At the back end of 2020, Madam Speaker, many countries have taken steps to slowly reopen their countries as the number of cases declined. Despite being cautious, many ECCU member states had to re-implement restrictions due to the arrival of the second wave of the coronavirus. Unfortunately, Montserrat was also unable to avoid the second wave and quickly had to follow our neighbors by re-implementing restrictions. Currently, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank has set a target growth rate of 5% for 2021. And while this is a positive sign, there is still some uncertainty surrounding this figure. It will likely depend on the management of the pandemic and also access to vaccines. Madam Speaker, I now take us to the local context. The outlook for 2021, 2022, and beyond is still uncertain. While the COVID-19 pandemic remains a threat to economic activity in 2021, the rollout of Montserrat's vaccination program does provide hope, with the assumption that uptake of the vaccine begins to make an impact in the latter half of 2021. And Montserrat can minimize the number of coronavirus cases. Expectations are that the economy should return to growth if we can reduce our number of cases. The government has also sought to maximize new opportunities created by the current pandemic and its changes to the ways in which we live and work. One such initiative has been the Montserrat Remote Workers Program. This program is expected to generate revenue for Montserrat to allow professionals and entrepreneurs to experience a work-life vacation balance. Madam Speaker, the construction sector is expected to show growth in 2021-2022 as public sector construction speeds up and several of the separate projects and the construction work on the port is expected to commence. There remains, though, a level of private sector construction activity, but is not expected to impact overall sector growth significantly. Madam Speaker, the agricultural sector is expected to return to growth in 2021 on the assumption that there will be no reoccurrence in the drought or supply chain issues that affected livestock production due to COVID-19. The government has provided considerable support and investment to this sector in recent months. As this sector continues to be a priority, it is expected that previous investment will start to show some returns. This will be in comparison to the past several years, where the sector only experienced 1 year of growth. Previous poor performance has been attributed to levels of droughts and storms that have impacted production. Despite slowly reopening of the economy, Madam Speaker, tourism continues to be the most heavily impacted sector in Montserrat. While not contributing significantly to overall GDP, it is still a sector that provides employment for a number of Montserrat citizens. The initial support programs specifically targeted this sector, ensuring that businesses and jobs were protected. The government also provided support to the sector in the most recent package. This is because tourism is still an important growth sector for the future sustainability of our island. It is difficult at this point to forecast what the level of unemployment will be in 2021. But unless the situation around the tourism sector changes, the unemployment levels in that sector are expected to remain subdued. There is a possibility that immigration and non-nationals from Montserrat who work in these sectors or auxiliary industries will cause a decline in both the population and the labor force. Madam Speaker, inflation levels are expected to increase in 2021 as global fuel and food prices are expected to rise. Montserrat is currently experiencing increased prices at the pumps and shops. This could potentially continue. As previously indicated, Madam Speaker, overall economic activity for 2021 is expected to be robust, but this hinges on the pace of implementation of several public sector projects, as well as the progress of the pandemic and the resultant restrictions on travel. The forecast beyond 2021-2022 is also positive, but with a far greater degree of uncertainty. However, this government is committed to steering Montserrat effectively along the path to self-sustainability and leveraging our project success for greater investment. Physical measures taken due to COVID-19. Madam Speaker, although the public health fallout for the coronavirus pandemic has been limited in Montserrat, the economic impact on the private sector has been significant. Considering this, the government of Montserrat implemented a plethora of fiscal measures aimed at supporting vulnerable persons and businesses during the initial March 2020 to August 2020 lockdown. To fund these fiscal measures, Madam Speaker, the government provided FCDO with a business case in late March 2020, requesting direct support. Successful negotiations resulted in an additional 2.5 million sterling being provided to tackle the crisis. This additional financing enabled the government to introduce the required fiscal measures in April 2020. Madam Speaker, a total of $9.355 million was expended to support the health care system and also provide economic relief and stimulus to those who have been impacted during the first wave. What needs to be highlighted is that without this package, Madam Speaker, it is likely that the economy would have contracted by an even greater percentage than ever stated. Earlier. On the 6th of February, 2021, it was announced that the island had once again contracted 2 new cases of the coronavirus, prompting government of Montserrat once again to introduce a package of assistance for the population to stimulate the economy. Madam Speaker, in this package, The government of Montserrat provided an additional one-off cash payment of $150 EC for every child in Montserrat, and approximately 120 children were eligible for this program, at a total of $150,000. This cash payment, Madam Speaker, went towards assisting parents who faced increased costs due to the closure of schools for that particular period. Furthermore, support was provided to every citizen on Montserrat through the provision of utility bill support. The government understands that ensuring everyone stayed indoors led to an increase in the use of electricity and water. Therefore, the government spent $413,000 to cover the fuel surcharge on electricity bills and also cover cost of water sales. This represented around 55% reduction in the cost of utility bills to every household for February. The government has provided direct financial support through the private sector grants for small businesses. This excluded essential services. This program, Madam Speaker, assisted them in meeting their general administration costs, such as rent and utilities. The cost of this program amounted to approximately $120,000 in February. As part of the government of Montserrat's plan to ensure the safety of all citizens, as well as ensuring the safety and well-being of our elderly residents, further remedial work was required to be undertaken at the Golden Years home. An allocation of $235,000 was made available to cover the costs of these repairs. Madam Speaker, the government is intent on further supporting private sector development and is committed to do everything that is required to support innovative businesses. To this end, preliminary work has begun to create a business financing facility in collaboration with the St. Patrick's Credit Union. This facility, Madam Speaker, will further provide grants and loans, support to existing and potential new innovative businesses and ideas on the island. Madam Speaker, I will now turn to the key achievements and plans of my administration. Economic management. Madam Speaker, the national goal outlined in the SDP states an environment that fosters prudent economic management, sustained growth, a diversified economy, and the generation of employment opportunities. Despite the clear global challenges that we have faced over the last year, we have surpassed expectations with a steady stream of key achievements across the portfolio of investment. Despite our size, Madam Speaker, this government has been big and bold in our commitment to tangible delivery on our crucial work streams, including port development, roads and access infrastructure, air and sea access connectivity, healthcare, information technology and communication, tourism, energy and agriculture services. Madam Speaker, because of the swift and decisive action of this government in suppressing COVID-19 on island, together with improvements in our project management capability, we have created the environment to successfully develop, approve, tender, and award, and deliver across the full range of projects. Of this, Madam Speaker, my country would be proud, and I hope this whole House will recognize the significance of this achievement as we pivot into the new financial year. Project capability development. Madam Speaker, the Program Management Office has remained a key function in enabling the successful execution of our broad portfolio and our projects and change initiatives, as it works with the ministries to plan and deliver projects, facilitate funding approvals and effective project governance, whilst driving improvements in project management capacity and processes. The Project Management Office has helped government to unlock progress on all work streams within the separate program and ensure that we maintain critical momentum during COVID-19 crisis. The PMO will continue to lead our project interface with separate programs, program board, and Montserrat Steering Committee. The year ahead will also see the PMO strengthen its resource through the recruitment of key project management roles so that this unit is able to deliver sustainable impact. For development. Madam Speaker, despite the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Little Bay Port Development Project funded through the United Kingdom Caribbean Infrastructure Partnership Fund and the European Union Fund EDF 11 has continued to make significant design development progress. The project, together with the engineering contracts Stantec Consulting International Limited, successfully revised the original concept design, provided the people of Montserrat with a minimum size facility which can safely meet our development needs. This followed a very successful series of stakeholder engagement visits by the project team to senior level stakeholders in the cruise and cargo industry in Florida. In the early part of last year, Madam Speaker, we importantly completed the procurement process to pre-qualify prospective bidders from across the globe for the detailed designs and build contract. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to report the project has now reached a pivotal and exciting stage. The tender documents for the detailed design and build contract has been issued to the pre-qualified bidders in January of 2021. And we are awaiting the return of their submission and cost proposals, which will be evaluated with the hope of contract award in the summer of 2021. This project, Madam Speaker, will provide direct economic benefit to Montserrat through the creation of a long overdue fit-for-purpose jetty facility in Little Bay, enabling safer docking for cruise and cargo vessels, reducing downtime and opening up new opportunities in tourism, trade, and access. Furthermore, it will act as a catalyst for future landside development in Little Bay. Road and access infrastructure. Madam Speaker, the Public Works Department rose to the challenge of this year while foregoing 31% of the infrastructure maintenance budget and coping with disruption of 2 lockdowns and damage caused by a flash flood in November. 9 contractors were awarded for road, drainage, and retaining wall construction, and over 45 persons received employment. This meant that equipment operators, along with local merchants, benefited from the programs of the ministry. The ministry continued to work with private contractors to maintain the road verges. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to report that the 2 critical projects at the Johnny Osborne Airport funded under the separate program, the runway resurfacing project is now completed, and the air traffic control tower project is advancing well. The design works were completed for both projects, and the contracts for construction works were signed in November of 2020 for a combined value of $12.9 million. Madam Speaker, despite the impact of COVID-19, the 9th Basic Trust Fund BNTF 9 project continued to provide critical support to infrastructure development, implementing all subject projects within their allocation, and before the stipulated terminal disbursement date. Citizens benefited from the Cavalry Hill to Basis Road rehabilitation and Mars Hill Road rehabilitation projects, and the Salem water main replacement project. Madam Speaker, as we continue the development of the island's infrastructure, the major activities planned for 2021-2022 include completing the construction of the air traffic control tower and commissioning in the new facility, improving the road segment from Woodlands to Sheepen Junction, road and drainage improvement works on the Jones Hill Residential Road, Date Palm Drive and Palm Loop Munger Hill Road, and the Garland Hill to Little Bip Road. Completion of the Drummond Sewage Plant access road reconfiguration of the Braids factory shell to host the ICT City and Innovative Center, and installation of a new hot mix plant. Madam Speaker, we have approval for the BNTF 10 program, and I'll be signing the grant agreement shortly. On the BNTF 10, some $1.7 million will be approved to support social and economic infrastructure projects and programs. Air and sea access connectivity and regulations. Madam Speaker, the plan for air and sea access for the medium to long term are being refined, utilizing the access and connectivity strategy for 2019. Given the global impact of the pandemic on passenger travel and the slowing of the global economies, these plans will be adjusted and phased until stability is returned to the global travel market. The strategic approach that is being adopted will serve to strengthen current Montserrat to Antigua routes and pave the way for gateway expansion and regional connectivity. It is this government's intention to reintroduce twin outer surface facilitation to Montserrat, to increase payload and passenger carrying capacity, build traveler confidence, and increase passenger traffic from neighboring islands. The introduction of twin outer surface is a strategic positioning, going beyond just access to Montserrat, but rather providing true connectivity to the world. Energy and security, or energy security. Madam Speaker, a future harnessed upon a green economy depends heavily on the success we attain in the sustainable development of our natural energy resources. So far, the Ministry of Commons and Works, Labour and Energy has led the charge ably, delivering significant results within the scope of the Energy Policy and Action Plan of 2030. During the last year, the Ministry reported an increase in the number of streetlights on the island by 50% above 2017 installation level. The European Union funding project featured installation of energy-dead lamps is expected to reduce the energy consumption via street lighting by over 30%. Initially, Madam Speaker, initial schedule to be installed at the Johnny Osborne Airport, the 750 kilowatt solar photovoltaic with a 1,088 MWh battery energy storage system is now being installed at Lookout. All of the required major materials and equipment was procured in 2020, and work is ongoing on installing the PV systems. On completion of this project, Madam Speaker, critical facilities such as the Glendon Hospital, the DMCA, will continue to receive power during an electrical outage on the local power grid. In combination with the existing 250 kilowatt system installed at Braids Power Station, both systems will provide 44% of the island's peak demand and supply about 12% of the annual electricity generation. To further advance the push to fully realize the island's potential for 100% renewable energy, The EU-funded wind feasibility study will be conducted to determine the most suitable location for the establishment of a wind farm. This study will include the installation of wind measuring equipment for a minimum of 12 months to collect critical data. Government will continue its push to increase the penetration of renewable energy locally and to diversify the island's energy mix to improve our energy security. Information communication technology. Madam Speaker, my government has successfully delivered the Montserrat submarine fiber project on time and on budget. Taking the new system live in October 2020, Montserrat now have a vastly more resilient connection to the international telecommunication grid by moving away from above-ground microwave dishes, which are vulnerable during storms and hurricanes. Madam Speaker, the amount of internet capacity now available in Montserrat has increased from less than 5 gigabytes per second between the two telecommunication companies to 100 gigabytes per second of initial capacity, and an overall system capacity of 8 terabytes per second. The government of Montserrat is directly connected to the new submarine fiber system, as are Digicel and Flow, both of whom are reporting that they can now provide more reliable and stable reconnections to their customers. Madam Speaker, we recognize that all businesses and homes, consumers want to experience the full benefits of this new and improved connectivity. To address this, Madam Speaker, government has been in discussion with the telecommunication providers on island on plans for upgrading the on-island's distribution network and rolling out better and faster service options. The government has a fiber first and fiber for all policy goal, and to prepare to offer the appropriate physical incentives and concessions that will enable the installation of fiber connections to every premises on the island. This is an ambitious goal, but we believe that with the cooperation of our service providers, Montserrat will soon be able to boast of being the most connected island in the region. Once reliable, we will attract new businesses and investment. This first world infrastructure will also underpin homegrown initiatives, such as the Remote Workers Program. Madam Speaker, distant learning and new business opportunities which rely on high internet bandwidth are now possible. Montserrat is now in the position to explore investment avenues that were a non-starter a few months ago. As such, a fiber optic working group has been established to examine and promote opportunities to maximize the use of the new fiber optic system for the benefit of the people of Montserrat. Madam Speaker, work has begun on the ICT Innovation Center to provide a space for innovative businesses and individuals in the tech field. This facility will also provide hot desking and meeting facilities for Remote Workers Program who require it, since there will be direct fiber optic connectivity. The center will be positioned to serve as a tech hub and a business incubator to support the diversification of our economy by creating a global service platform. Tourism. Madam Speaker, the effects of the global health crisis was perhaps nowhere more actually felt than in our tourism sector. Throughout January and February 2020, we saw a positive trend of visitor arrivals from 2019. However, the onset of the pandemic led to a sudden decline of visitor arrival by more than 60%, and a reduction in visitor expenditure by over 50%. This government has sought to strengthen Montserrat's tourist offering for the reopening of our borders for returning and new visitors. Madam Speaker, the Statistics Department has completed the Labor Force Survey 2020, which highlighted the true impact of the pandemic on the local tourism sector. However, looking ahead, regional and international tourism experts have determined that the advent of a vaccine to combat the virus would be the panacea for the sector. While this would undoubtedly give travelers more confidence to travel again, studies have also shown that we will not get back to 2019 levels of travel until 2023-2024, after a slow resumption from the third quarter of 2021. Of course, Madam Speaker, as I said, this government will do everything to support Montserrat's beating this trend. Madam Speaker, implementation of some of the European Union-funded projects continued in 2020, albeit at a lower pace due to lockdowns that we were forced to impose. Training and capacity building played a prominent role in continuing the development of the tourism sector's human resource through a series of programs that ran from June to January 2021. A total of 154 persons received training in customer service, tour and taxi operators, cruise destination preparedness, housekeeping, and presentation and packaging of souvenir items. Sometime shortly into this new year, Madam Speaker, Volcanic Interpretation Center will enter the design phase. This facility will offer the interactive experience to visitors while educating patrons on the natural history of Montserrat and highlight the impact that the Soufriere Hills volcano has had on the island. My government is committed to inclusive design, and therefore a dedicated washroom and shower facility will be constructed at Marine Village to accommodate persons with disabilities. Buncombe Bay and Little Bay will have outside showers installed and upgrades. Upgrades to the boardwalk at Marine Village will take place. The trail upgrade projects will also be completed, with works being done to improve the signage safety, accessibility, and maneuverability of the Hope Ridge, Joby Cassava Dry Waterfall, Underwood, and Katy Hill trails. Madam Speaker, in the coming months, the Tourism Division will facilitate additional training in tour guiding, managing social media sites and attractions, management and host in virtual home share. Moreover, Madam Speaker, the Tourism Division will work closely with its industry partners through the Tourism Stakeholder Advisory Council to develop a set of approved operating standards for the transportation, tour guiding, and communication and accommodation sectors. Physical planning and development. Madam Speaker, high on the agenda of the Physical Planning Unit is to seek to modernize its legislation, making them more relevant and in line with other CARICOM jurisdictions by establishing new legislation for the mining sector and the enactment of the Montserrat Building Code. The planning and development authorities will continue to facilitate the continued development of the sand mining industry on island. Fort Gutt and the Upper Bellum are the identified potential areas for expansion of the sand mining industry. However, development of these areas are dependent on a risk assessment being undertaken by the Montserrat Volcano Observatory to ensure that the risk posed by the proximity of the volcano can be adequately mitigated to ensure the paramount safety of all operators. Madam Speaker, in moving forward, it is expected that the people of Montserrat will receive their fair share of this valuable resource. Agriculture. Madam Speaker, the Department of Agriculture has continued over the past year to implement plans and programs geared at supporting and achieving its goal. To redeveloping agriculture, to promote food security, to satisfy local demand, and to target specific markets for import substitution and export. With the occurrence of COVID-19 pandemic and its perceived detrimental impact on the agricultural community and the country on a whole, the focus of the Agriculture Department for the major part of 2020 was on mitigating against the negative impact on the island's food security. The Veterinary Division is in close consultation with stakeholders, continue to support the use of semi-intensive systems in small ruminant production and has facilitated the importation of new improved breeds on island. Although the artificial insemination project was impacted by the COVID-19 travel restrictions, the department produced approximately 20 improved breeds, offspring, which were sold to producers in an effort to improve genetic composition of local small ruminants. Madam Speaker, to further stimulate growth in this subsector and to add to this initiative, government has reduced custom tariff rates on the importation of live farm animals. During this fiscal year, Madam Speaker, the government will focus on the agro-processing aspect of the department. Emphasis will be placed on ensuring quality and standards for cottage products, which are aimed to initiating the production of semi-processed meats and meat products and adding value to some of our fruits and vegetables. Private sector support. Madam Speaker, one of the strategic thrusts of my government is to improve the ease of doing business in Montserrat. As a starting point, it was important to document the legal procedures and requirements for business owners and the supporting organizations with whom they work and interact. To this end, Madam Speaker, in December of 2020, the Trade and Quality Infrastructure Division, under the auspices under the Office of the Premier, launched a business compliance guide. Madam Speaker, my administration recognizes that the thrust for economic development lies in the creation of new and sustainable enterprises. However, access to finance has always been the issue for micro and small businesses, further exacerbated by the current global economic crisis. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I am pleased to report that very shortly, my government, in conjunction with the St. Patrick's Cooperative Credit Union, will be rolling out a loan facility equivalent to $500,000 to assist micro, small, and new innovative businesses. This facility will be accessible to business requiring startup financing or financing for expansion, to include the purchasing of equipment and raw materials. Additionally, Madam Speaker, we will be making a further $600,000 in the form of grants available to existing small and micro businesses for similar purposes. Madam Speaker, having reopened access to a business financing facility, our next step is to ensure that businesses can manage their finances and grow. The Trade and QI Division completed a QuickBook training which is likely to be an ongoing initiative, given the immense interest shown by business owners. The trade team will continue to provide training to help small and micro businesses navigate the global and regional changes. Madam Speaker, as part of the EDF 11 Technical Barriers to Trade program, a local light manufacturing business, through partnership with CrossQ, will be the beneficiary of certification in hazard analysis critical control points. What this means, Madam Speaker, is that this business products will be recognized as having gone through an extensive certification scheme, leading to access to regional and international markets. This will provide transferable learning to other businesses and sectors on Ireland. Madam Speaker, I have already mentioned the work that is ongoing on retrofitting the factory shell in Braids, converting it into an innovation center, providing an innovation center. Providing business space for young and innovative entrepreneurs who would want to implement an idea but does not have the capacity to rent expensive office space to see the idea come to fruition. Madam Speaker, this government does not believe that Montserrat's economic future rests on granting aid. We must encourage serious private sector development to achieve some level of economic sustainability. To this end, Madam Speaker, my government has begun discussing the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office on the creation of a private sector entity which would be able to drive private sector development on Ireland. And as the months go by, we will seek to agree on such an entity which will work in the best interests of the people of Montserrat. Madam Speaker, the move by the Bank of Montserrat to take over Royal Bank of Canada assets has placed the Bank of Montserrat in a very strategic position to contribute towards the island's economic development. And my government will be working closely with the bank to see how best we can work together to stimulate economic activity on Ireland. The bank have a role to play in all sectors of development on this country. Madam Speaker, human development. Madam Speaker, a nation's human resource is its greatest capital. And my government is committed to improving the quality of life for all people in Montserrat within the resources available to us. Therefore, as we coped with the pandemic, it was important to ensure basic necessities and financial support were provided to the most impacted, as was also important. It was also important to maintain key housing programs to provide shelter and maintain the integrity of our citizens. We strengthened capacities in the health sector and ensured protection and accessibility for continued education of our children during island-wide lockdowns. These sectors, Madam Speaker, these sectors of our children, we strengthen capacities in the health sector and ensure protection and accessibility for continued education of our children during island-wide lockdown. These sectors, touching on human lives, were most impacted over the last few months, and we were very responsive in addressing the issues that arose. Madam Speaker, my government is all too aware of the hardship faced by the people of Montserrat, especially given the recent impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on our economy. Moreover, Montserrat has been without a cohesive strategy for defining the vulnerable sectors of our population and targets their needs for the wider development of the island. As such, my administration will be supported by the CDB, will undertake an enhanced country poverty assessment, which will verify the levels of poverty on Montserrat and enable the government and donor agencies to provide targeted support to those most in need. Madam Speaker, I now turn to the health sector. Health and Social Services. The Ministry of Health and Social Services, Madam Speaker, is on a path of rebuilding robust and transformative approaches to providing better health and social systems for Montserrat. Fundamental to these changes is the progress of our project to deliver a new hospital. This time last year, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Health and Social Services began working with Article 25 for the preliminary design of our island's new hospital. Since then, the government has collaborated closely with the design team throughout the COVID-19 crisis to limit schedule impact to this important project. The designers have generated new and cost architectural options for a facility to cater for peak demands of up to 31 beds. They have also provided logistical plan for decanting from the current facility while ensuring continuity of service whilst demonstrating conformance to the highest clinical design standards for patients and medical staff. In light of the emerging pandemic, the government has also examined the pandemic response strategies for the new facility. The Ministry of Health and Social Services team has been engaging expert agencies to support the design developments, such as Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, Public Health England, the United Kingdom National Health Service. We will shortly be moving into the detailed design phase. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Health is expected to continue its operations and be always ready for any public health threats. During the last budget cycle, the ministry battled with evolving threats posed by COVID-19. In response, we strengthened surveillance mechanisms, contact tracing, legislation, and interagency working to help guard the population from COVID-19. We established a quarantine authority and implemented multiple new procedures in accordance with the Act, including stepping up our health procedures, quarantine protocols, communications, and the acquisition of technologies to support this important work. The government introduced several public health and suppressing orders to help contain the spread of the virus. Today, Madam Speaker, we are COVID virus free. And we hope that this will continue, even when we venture into the reopening of our borders. Madam Speaker, the emergence of COVID-19 pressed the ministry to build capacity and improve in certain areas, from our isolation facility through to PPEs and protocols. This government boosted the capacity of the health workforce with assistance from the Cuban government. We saw the arrival of 13 medical persons from Cuba who, working alongside our own health professionals, have been delivering great work and much needed specialist service to the people of Montserrat in the field of pediatrics, obstetrics, and gynecology. Madam Speaker, we thank the health team and all the workers very much for their contribution during these past months. Madam Speaker, earlier last year, in response to COVID-19, the ministry commenced work on facilities to accommodate the PCR's testing capacity in Ireland. This includes, more recently, the open-ended PCR systems for COVID-19. And the Minister will speak to these later. Madam Speaker, the diagnostic of the St. John's Hospital has been further enhanced with the commissioning of new endoscopy machine. The government of Montserrat intends to build on partnership, Madam Speaker, with the Cubans so that we can continue to enhance our healthcare services to improve access to key healthcare specialists for the benefit of our peoples. Social services. Madam Speaker, the social services team has played a significant role in the COVID-19 response, providing relief to those impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. This relief has been financial and in food packages support, as well as in well-being and safeguarding during the difficult period. The social services team filled and uploaded approximately 1,270 applicants for unemployment income support, and approximately 959 households receiving assistance. The total spent on the first phase of the income support unemployment benefit program was approximately $3.6 million. In excess of $1 million was spent in phase 2 of the pandemic. We thank the social services team for the effort. We provided support, Madam Speaker, in this phase for just over 1,000 persons, including children. Education. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Health, Youth and Sports was tested this year with a variety of challenges to operations and continuity. However, Madam Speaker, staff and stakeholders have shown great agility, exemplifying their flexibility to respond to the needs of the country. Hence, their theme for this coming year is transforming education through innovation and resilience. Madam Speaker, the impact of COVID-19 has redefined the education sector. Blended learning for online and face-to-face instructions has become the new normal. Therefore, Madam Speaker, my government is committed to ensuring that every student, teacher, and parent is ready for this new transition. The education sector continues to work with a variety of regional and international partners to support its mission and function. These partners were key to acquiring needed resources in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Madam Speaker, we have restarted the laptop program and will continue to acquire and distribute devices to those most in need. We have provided custom training through the University of the West Indies Open Campus on remote instructions and will offer improvements in line with the new fiber optic capacity. As we make these transitions, Madam Speaker, all initiatives will be tied to the development of Montserrat's first national curriculum, which was commissioned in November of 2020 with the UWI Arthur Lockjack Global School of Business. The development of our education sector is key to international transformation, but an updated approach is necessary to meet the students where they are and transform this sector through innovation. Therefore, Madam Speaker, we not only continue to train teachers, but students as well, and parents, to enable transition to the new normal. Online learning must become the standard practice as a response to disaster risk reduction, not only for COVID, for hurricanes and other such disasters. Additionally, Madam Speaker, the Student Support Service Program must become a priority and the government will allocate the necessary resources for the training of teachers, effective succession planning, and the systematic transition to new approaches. This includes continued support to the secondary sector for teacher training, introduction of collaboration with UWI to begin the Diploma in Teacher Training program, and focus on in-service training to address knowledge gaps. Library services. Madam Speaker, the Montserrat Public Library continues to make its contribution to the development of development of literacy, cultures, and lifelong learning on the island of Montserrat. Staff delivering on key programs, reading passport literacy programs, summer literacy programs, support for the Alogano Festival of the Word, and homework help programs. Madam Speaker, the library will be seeking to expand its current literacy and numeracy programs. Further development of the Community Computer Literacy Program in collaboration with the Department of Community Services, Youth and Sports, will target individuals who seek to raise their basic computer literacy skills and knowledge. The library will also seek to formalize partnership with national cultural organizations to protect and preserve historical materials in danger of deterioration. This will eventually lead to the development of an island-wide archive service and contribution to the cultural and economic development of Montserrat. Community, youth, and sports. Madam Speaker, the Department of Community, Youth, and Sports continue to expand to meet the expectation of its far-reaching vision and mission. Despite the challenges of COVID-19, the department has supported training and development in sports, youth professional development, and community development activities. Most notably, Madam Speaker, the department continues to execute the Youth Apprenticeship Program. Hi. Madam Speaker, this program was introduced just over 10 years ago and has undergone various changes. However, Madam Speaker, it is my government intention to support this program, but in doing so, we believe that further modification is required to realize the full benefits of the program. Madam Speaker, there is a huge skills gap in this country, and it is my government intention to provide some of these skills through further modification of the program. To this end, Madam Speaker, my government intends to provide funding for a specific number of young persons to pursue a 2-year supervised and certified apprenticeship attachment in specific skills areas, which would eventually contribute to the island's growth and development. Culture. Madam Speaker, in the last financial year, the government, working in collaboration with key stakeholders, executed activities of national significance to commemorate Montserrat's 3 national heroes. The most excellent William H. Bramble, ONH, the most excellent Robert W. Griffith, OBE, ONH, and the most excellent Alfonso Aracastle, ONH, MB. The photos of these national heroes were unveiled on Emancipation Day 2020 and are now on display in 3 strategic locations, namely John A. Osborne Airport, the Montserrat Port Authority Ferry Terminal Building, and the National Museum. Madam Speaker, we also commemorate 25 years since the volcanic eruption and 23 years of the June 25th fatal volcanic eruption. Madam Speaker, Montserrat Arts Council also made a valiant effort to keep up certain annual traditions, such as Calabash Festival and the Algana Festival of the Word. MAC also found new ways to celebrate our culture as we were transitioned to social distancing through COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 online poetry and song competition and MAC online virtual exhibition made good use of technology. The matters for priority act going forward, Madam Speaker, for the Council is to research into the creation of hallmark events that results in large number of visitors from around the world annually who comes to Montserrat. Developing our local artisans and artists, including youths, to reduce the reliance on the importation of external cultural groups and increase opportunities for the economic gain and formation of more creative industry groups. We are on track, Madam Speaker, to doing that. Labor. Madam Speaker, the Department of Labor has been working unrelentingly to ensure compliance with Montserrat Labor Code, which has successfully gained the support of most stakeholders whom now have a better understanding of either of their obligations and responsibilities. The department will work to update the labor code to improve harmonization with international labor organizations, ILO conventions, applicable to Montserrat. We will advance the decent work agenda and progress discussion on the introduction of a national minimum wage. Land and housing development. Madam Speaker, the tendering process for the 2 work streams related to housing under the separate program have been completed. The first project includes an in-depth interview of the current social housing model in order to generate improvements in effectiveness and efficiency for sustainable housing social solution for Montserrat. The second project will provide new designs for future social housing development to provide for the most vulnerable and promote population growth and retention. This will also take into consideration an analysis of potential land use in specific areas such as Drummond's, Lookout, and Davy Hill. On completion, Madam Speaker, these 2 reviews will be used as prerequisite to this government building the business case for capital funding for future social housing development on the Mali. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to report that during the past fiscal year, 15 service lots were allocated to qualified middle-income households as equity to enable them to secure mortgage financing for home construction. The construction of these homes has already begun and will be running through the 2022. Environmental management and disaster mitigation. Madam Speaker, the Department of Environment continues to formulate policies and programs to assist in the protection of the island's natural resources. A rehabilitation of sand mining action plan to ignite sustainability in sand mining activities in the Belém Valley was finalized with input from the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds. The wetland restoration project, also implemented by RSPB and funded by Darwin, is in full swing. Madam Speaker, the saving of the mountain chicken project continues, implemented by the Darwin Wildlife Conservation Trust. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, in April 2020, the island saw its first case of chytrid infection on the mountain chicken enclosure. Scientists, field biologists, and staff from Durrell and the Department of Environment quickly intervened and successfully eliminated the fungus from the semi-wild enclosure. We'll continue to work assiduously, Madam Speaker, to protect the mountain chicken. Madam Speaker, the department will continue to push to regulate for regulate and clear policy provisions in respect of the Conservation and Environmental Management Act, CEMA, Climate Change Convention on International Trade and Endangered Species, and the single-use plastic bag. Madam Speaker, it is worth mentioning the government is keeping with its pledge to protect the environment by restricting the use of single-use plastics and other non-biodegradable plastic products. We have taken the first step by increasing the tariff on these products with a view towards a total ban in 2022. Governance. Statistical development. Madam Speaker, despite the inevitable impact of COVID-19 on the work of the Statistics Department, valiant efforts were made and substantive outputs were accomplished, including conducting the Montserrat Labour Force Survey 2020, completion of initial analysis and reporting on the results of the 2018 Intersessional Count and Labour Force Survey, building a statistical business register for Montserrat, restoration of the tourism statistics systems, and the merchandise trade statistics systems, finalization of the environmental statistics report, and preparation for the standard of living conditions household budgetary survey of Montserrat. Madam Speaker, in this new fiscal year, the Statistics Department resumed implementation and complete analysis of the Standard of Living Survey so that the key results are available in the new financial year 2022-2023. They will commence the decennial population and housing census, a vital undertaking to inform policy planning, research, and major government decisions. They will also build a national strategy for the development of statistics on Montserrat and endorsed by the United Nations Statistical Commission. Procurement. The improvement of Montserrat's procurement processes are continuing. Some 29 of the 35 high-level priority actions agreed with FCDO following the assessment by CDB under the Global Methodology and Assessment Procurement Systems have been completed ahead of time. And we are now moving to the detailed actions. All audit recommendations outstanding from 2018 and 2019 have now been addressed. We are working with CDB, Madam Speaker, their consultants, to develop a procurement law and accompanying procurement regulations. Supplier and stakeholders' engagement have taken place to input into the designs of a more effective procurement process, which makes bidding easier for small suppliers and which improves confidence in the evaluation systems. We have ensured that the procurement department is fully staffed continuously since our election, and this has provided the capacity for the development work to take place. This work includes developing local capacity for the long term. The local Montserratian civil servants recruited to the department are continuing their professional studies with the support of CDB and funding under the GRID program. Strengthening of our legislation. Madam Speaker, the following advances have been made in respect of legislation reform to support national development. The Domestic Violence Bill successfully passed through this Honourable Legislative Assembly in 2020. Amendments were also made to several acts during the last financial year to include the Banking Act, Eastern Caribbean Central Bank Bill, and Volcano Relief Fund. A Penal Code Amendment Bill, which creates cybercrime offenses, is currently before the Assembly. The aim of the bill is to provide protection to persons against violations which take place within the digital space. A draft data protection bill has been produced for regulating the collection, keeping, processing, use, and dissemination of personal data, protecting the privacy of individuals in relation to their personal data and related matters. There are planned amendments to the Pension Act and policy. We are also going to update the info communication regulation to improve the ease of doing business in this sector. The regulations governing amateur radio operations will also be tabled. Draft updates to the Road Traffic Act and subsidiary legislation is presently before this House, Madam Speaker. The school bus regulations are being looked at to improve safety, and the draft standard and metrology bills, which sets the parameters for quality in Montserrat, will also be brought before the Honourable Assembly. We are hoping that through the passage of these bills, business will commit more energies to their packaging and labeling, and consumer likewise will feel a heightened sense of confidence in the goods which they are purchased locally. In the agricultural sector, focus will be on a review of regulatory, sanitary, and phytosanitary measures, an annual trespass and pound legislation, the fisheries legislation, and the Ocean Act geared towards guiding the implementation of the Marine Spatial Plan. Transparency and accountability. Madam Speaker, the public service as a whole has made great strides in institutionalization, accountability, and transparency practices that build confidence in the service provided by the government. The Government of Montserrat Performance Report for the period 2019-2020 was completed and approved by Cabinet for publication. In addition, Madam Speaker, the Monitoring and Evaluation Unit continued its efforts to improving understanding of its role and embarked on promoting key positive national achievements via multiple media platforms. The Monitoring and Evaluation Unit will engage in further training, both for the internal team and client ministries, to build capacity and compliance. Madam Speaker, the Government Information Unit serves as the central COVID-19 communication hub for information from the government in response to COVID-19 outbreak, providing top quality and on-call coordination of media coverage throughout. Thanks are extended, Madam Speaker, to the team. In August 2020, GIU led cross-sectorial collaborations to modernize and improve the public sector to government information. This came to fruition with the launch of a rebranded Government of Montserrat website and a monthly 30-minute video news package promoting a modern, progressive, and transparent public service. Madam Speaker, ZJB reported a 22% increase in airtime allotted to information and general education programs. This was partly in response to demand for information on the coronavirus pandemic and policies and initiatives enacted by the Government of Montserrat. It will continue to be accessible to the people of Montserrat and ensure improved standards for performance, reporting, and information dissemination. In addition, Madam Speaker, focus will also be placed on programming to appeal to a broader cross-section of the population. E-service portfolio. Madam Speaker, the Human Resource Information System project InSync was implemented and being used by HR daily. This goes a long way in standardizing record keeping and enabling a paperless public sector. The Traffic Division launched a new web-based system for driver's license and advance development of a web-based citizen interface. The traffic will continue to expand the digital footprint in the new year with its transition to online renewals of drivers and vehicle license. It is government intention in the ensuing year to expand its e-service portfolio to facilitate the receipt of payments online. Advancing public service management and reform agenda. Madam Speaker, the Strategic Administration section of the Office of the Deputy Governor continues to work towards the diligent execution of its mandate according to the policy framework for the government of Montserrat. The Office of the Premier has been prioritized for organizational review. This review is ongoing with completion expected in Q2 of this year. It is hoped that the review will provide recommendations resulting in the establishment of a more strategic office of the Premier. Madam Speaker, the Learning and Development Division supported the return of Government of Montserrat Scholarship awardees who were overseas back to the island at the onset of COVID-19 pandemic. 7 new scholarships were awarded for academic year 2020-21 in several disciplines as per Government of Montserrat priorities. Public servants have shown great interest in personal development. Just over 100 public servants pursued short courses online, while 63 individuals from the private sector and from the public and private sector received financial assistance towards continued education. Development, Madam Speaker, transformation and reform initiatives for 2021-2022, which includes development and operationalization of the digital transformation plan that incorporates a remote workers platform and e-service for internal and external customers, incremental implementation of recommendations from organizations, development reviews of key ministries and departments, exploration of options to privatize roadworthiness certification of motor vehicles, and phase implementation and recommendation from the building, and phase implementation of recommendations from the building and accommodation strategy. Uniform organizations. Madam Speaker, I must acknowledge and express my personal thanks to the uniform bodies that ensure Montserrat keeps its reputation as safe and crime-free. I make mention especially of the Royal Montserrat Police Service, the Royal Montserrat Defence Force, for their exemplary service during COVID-19 lockdowns, helping to keep compliance high and getting essential items to residents. I also want to acknowledge the work of Her Majesty's Prison, who work assiduously to protect the human interests of our prisoners, and the DMCA and Fire Service and Fire and Rescue Service for safeguarding against hazards and natural disasters. Thank you very much. External affairs. Madam Speaker, our government has made significant progress in our regional and international affairs, including development of modern approaches for targeted diaspora engagement via an inaugural virtual diaspora meeting, piloting of a diaspora focus group, and an online survey to support the development of a tailored diaspora program. We have also created an integrated diaspora database and skills banks, execution of mutual beneficial regional cooperation agreements, and strategic collaboration to include the Cuban Medical Cooperation Agreement of 2020, Barbados Medical Internship Scholarship, and 2020-21 agreement with Amber Group for wearable tracking and tracing solutions to help contain the spread of coronavirus 19. Madam Speaker, Social Security Fund. The protection of all benefits due to the hard-working residents of Montserrat is of paramount importance to my government, and the continued financial stability of the Social Security Fund is pivotal for this reason. Madam Speaker, it is no secret that this fund is in dire need of government intervention to ensure its long-term survival. The volcanic crisis, which fundamentally altered the population demographic on the island due to the mass exodus of working-age Montserratians and residents, has caused the inevitable reality of the fund paying out more in benefits than it is generating in income. That is through contribution and investment. Madam Speaker, government has been in discussion with both the board of the fund and the FCDO on the best ways of ensuring the fund's sustainability. And we will inform the people of Montserrat on the decisions that we will take in due course. Tax administration. Madam Speaker, despite the challenges we have gone through and continues to face, as a government, we reiterate that we will do all we can to avoid implementing any major changes in our tax structure. Instead, our focus will be placed on improving revenue collection to ensure that all persons who are liable to pay taxes make their fair contribution. MCRS continue to modernize the administration and collection of income tax, company tax, property tax, and embarkment and port security charges. We expect derived benefits from investment in technology in all three areas. And we can report today, Madam Speaker, with the recent acquisition of a tax administration computer system, the department is working assiduously to reduce backlog of tax assessments and at the same time continuing the project to migrate taxpayers' information from paper-based files to the new computer system. In 2021, property tax will be generated from a new property tax computer administrative system for the first time. And these bills will include up-to-date amounts in arrears for each property, a feature which was lacking in the old system. MCRS is now poised to generate regular reports on arrears and provide regular reminders to property owners as to the state of their tax arrears. I am pleased to report that as announced in my budget presently, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to report that in my budget presentation last year, June 2020, embarkment tax and port security charges have been included in the cost of the ticket to travel out of Montserrat. The actual taxes are then paid over to the government revenue agency after the passenger would have traveled. This is a vast improvement in the administration and collection of these taxes. International tax and finance obligation. Madam Speaker, having regard to our commitments arising from membership in regional international organizations, we are currently preparing for the following. The next Caribbean Financial Action Task Force mutual evaluation review slated for second half of 2024. Montserrat is expected to have in place the necessary provisions to satisfy the anti-money laundering and terrorist financing policies and procedures, and an effective legal framework subject to implementing the requirements in the Financial Action Task Force recommendation, 40 recommendations. Madam Speaker, review on transparency and exchange in information for tax purposes for Montserrat. This is due to take place during the second half of 2023. Membership of Egbert Group. Montserrat is still pursuing its long-standing application for membership to Egbert Group, which was created to provide a forum to exchange information confidentially to combat money laundering and financing of terrorism and other predicated offenses in all its member states, member countries. To establish a publicity, accessibility beneficiary ownership register. We hope to establish this, Madam Speaker, by the end of 2021. This is a long outstanding item on the legal agenda. We will seek to implement the outstanding UN conventions which have been extended to Montserrat. For example, the UN Convention on Suppression of Terrorism, the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime, United Nations Convention Against Corruption, and the OECD Bribery Convention. Concession and incentives. Madam Speaker, members of this Honourable House, I am pleased to announce that we were able to keep all the promises we made in the last budget speech to extend or introduce some major concessionary programs to benefit a wide cross-section of the community without detriment to the much-needed revenue collection streams. In April 2020, we introduced the Custom Duties and Consumption Tax COVID-19 Personal Protective Items Exemption Order number 26 in order to make personal protection items, PPEs, affordable to all. This exemption ran from 17th April to July 15, 2020. In July 20, we introduced SRO number 45 to renew the custom duties and consumption tax property developers, home built for sale or rental. The program of the main objective for continuing this program is to increase our housing stock to stimulate economic activity and population growth. In July 2020, we introduced SRO number 47. This served to extend the custom duties and consumption tax development of private homes exemption program. This program replaces the material grant program, which was financially unsustainable. To this end, Madam Speaker, persons who are building their first home in Montserrat is entitled to a 40% concession in duty on building materials and furnishing equipment. 40,000. In July 2020, we also approved custom duties and consumption tax in Zone Z, exemption SRO number 65. Through this order, Madam Speaker, government continues to support the redevelopment of Zone C, Cork Hill, Delvins, Weeks Hills, Richmond Hill, and Foxes Bay. This order serves to exempt from custom duties and consumption tax all materials imported for the sole use of building or repairing any structure in Zone C. Madam Speaker, we have gone further than previous governments in order to stimulate activity in the Cork Hill, Delvins, Weeks Hills, Richmond Hill, Foxes Bay areas with introduction of the following support programs. SRO number 56 of 2020, Stamp Fees Amendment Order, where the conveyance or transfer on sale of land in Zone C between relatives or between resident demonstrations require payment of $10 to the government as stamp duty. This will be in place until 2025. SRO number 57, Physical Planning Fees Amendment Regulations, Zone C, we are planning an application fee for the processing of planning applications with respect to Zone C is $50 and will be in place until 2025. SRO number 58 of 2020, Registered Land Amendment Rules on application for registration of any transfer with respect to lands located in Zone C. The most payable to government is $10, and this is also in place until 2025. In August We approve the renewal of the Returning Menstruation Concession Program, SRNO number 69 of 2020, by consolidating the previous 2 returning menstruation programs and renewing them. We continue to encourage menstruations living abroad to consider returning home permanently. This updated program we started in September 2020 and will run for a period of 10 years. Madam Speaker, notwithstanding SRNO number 69 of 2020, which is in place to facilitate returning menstruations, the number of menstruations returning home permanently is very small. To this end, Madam Speaker, to attract more diaspora investment in housing on island, it is my government intention to grant concession to menstruations overseas who do not wish to return home currently, but wish to purchase or build a house in their homeland. In doing so, Madam Speaker, they will receive concessions on duty-free material and furnishing. Madam Speaker, the time has come when menstruations overseas must begin to invest at home. The burden put on them to return home to invest is behind us. Menstruations who are overseas who wish to invest in Montserrat, even you're not ready to retire, can do so now. In November 2020, Madam Speaker, we again put in place the consumption duties and consumption tax, alteration of consumption duties and consumption tax on Christmas barrels. And we did the same for Christmas lightings. And more than ever, Madam Speaker, in 2020, when COVID was rampant and it was locked down and persons were unable to move, this incentive created an environment where members of the population could spend some moments relaxing and clearing their minds. Madam Speaker, my government is cognizant of the difficulties faced by our country, and it is determined to use creative fiscal policies to stimulate economic activities, provide employment, support increase in our housing stock and population growth. In my last budget statement, I alluded to the following. Before going on, Madam Speaker, this government will promote the incentives which have been in place for so long, with very little take-up. We will mount a campaign, a PR campaign, to promote all the SRNOs which are available to menstruations and other people across the globe. We will start as soon as possible. I alluded to the following issues, and I can now confirm, Madam Speaker, that a long overdue update of the automated system for custom data as a CODA world system was completed, and there is planned transition to the most recent version of HS code. This improvement will increase the efficiency of the custom clearance process and allow for the proper classification of imported goods. Madam Speaker, I also can confirm that from April 2021, we have increased tariff rates on the following: single-use plastic bags, single-use full containers, styrofoam, food and drink containers, and drinking straws for a period of 1 year. After this period, Madam Speaker, as I said before, a total ban will be implemented. We have increased tariff, Madam Speaker, on sugary drinks. In keeping with the Ministry of Health's goal to reduce the incidences of non-communicable diseases, and an effort to discourage persons from using them as the preferred drink of choice and encourage the choice of healthy alternatives. We have increased the duty on tobacco products to deter persons from smoking and to encourage them to adopt a healthier lifestyle. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to announce that at the same time, we have reduced consumption tariff rates on the following items: pure natural juices to encourage a healthy alternative to sugary drinks, health food supplements to encourage persons to consume healthier foods, live farm animals in an effort to promote the livestock and animal husbandry industry in Montserrat. Most items we have reduced customs and consumption duties on most clothing items and sanitary pads. Madam Speaker, in spite of all this, Madam Speaker, this has nothing to do with the high cost of living across the world. And we'll speak to that during the debate, because I'm certain it will appear. Madam Speaker, I now turn to the current revenue and expenditure for 2020-2021. Madam Speaker, overall, recurrent revenue for 2020-21 was budgeted at $126.64 million. $126.64 million. However, the outturn of current revenue for 2020-2021 was $142.34 million. $142.34 million. This represents an increase of $8.3 million over government's collection on the previous year, 2019-2020, of $134 million. This increase was attributed to the COVID-19 support that was received from FCDO for the year 2020-2021. Madam Speaker, budget support from the United Kingdom remained the highest contributor to our revenues, with a provision of $81.65 million in 2020-21 for the recurrent budget and an additional $12.1 million for COVID-19 support. Our approved estimate expenditure for 2020-21 was $148.6 million, and the expenditure outturn was $145.45. The estimated expenditure, $148.63. The expenditure outturn was $145.45 million. Recurrent expenditure 2021-2022. Madam Speaker, I will now present the estimates of recurrent expenditure for the 2021-22 financial year. The 2021-22 estimates of revenue and expenditure provide for total expenditure, including debt servicing, of $136.34 million. $136.34 million. Budgetary allocations by economic classification are as follows. Compensation of employees to include Madam Speaker. Compensation of employees, $51.54 million, or 37.8%. Goods and services, $44.97 million, or 33%. Interest payments, $0.38 million, or 0.3%. Subsidies, $12.06 million, or 8.8%. Grants, $5.66 million, or 4.2%. Social benefits, $17.06 million, or 12.5%. Other expenditures, $66.99 million, or 3.4%. Madam Speaker, there are varying degrees of changes across the various budget economic classification for 2021-2022 budgets when compared to the 2020-21 revenue budget estimates. Salaries has been increased by 2.03%, and this includes, Madam Speaker, increments for those persons who receive increments. That contribution is 4.8%. Allocation has been increased, allowances has been increased by 0.77 million, or 1.03%. Pensions and gratuity reduced by 0.63%, by 0.631 million. Pension and gratuities reduced by 0.631 million, or 4.61%. International travel and subsistence reduced by 0.57 million, or 52.61%. Utilities reduced by 0.69 million, or 15.36%. Furniture and equipment and resource decreased by 0.523 million, or 12.19%. Uniform protective clothing decreased by 0.135 million, or 25.74%. Maintenance services has been decreased by 1.47 million, or 17.22%. Rental of assets reduced by 0.125 million. Rental of assets reduced by 0.125 million, or 7.73%. Grants and contribution reduced by 1.6 million, or 22.11%. Social protection reduced by 5.03 million, or 55.68%. Revenue refund by 0.6 million, or 46.96%. Claims against government reduced by 2.2 million, or 50.68%. Claims against government reduced by 2.22 million, or 50.68%. Sundry expenses increased by 0.045 million, or 3.7%. Program production and promotion has been increased by 0.038 million, or 4.52%. And debt servicing foreign increased, and debt service increased by 0.14 million, or 29.18%. Madam Speaker, new spend. There are a number of items on the new spend. The recruitment of one firefighter for fire and rescue of $54,000, the annual. Operation of the MV Heliconia Star, $150,000. Under the same heading, 0.505, training for police, $50,000. Top-up of votes, 09, $71,100. Vote 10, electoral reform exercise, $75,000. Vote 15, Montserrat National Trust curator, $36,000. Vote 20, systems administrator, $84,400. Vote 20, due diligence procedures, $18,900. Vote 20, maintenance of MVO building, $150,000. Vote 30, sanitary improvement for the vulnerable toilets and baths. Vote 30, $100,000. Vote 30, maintenance of family housing, $90,000. Vote 30, species management, $60,000. Vote 30, agri-processing unit, $250,000. Vote 45, maintenance of Orwell Villa, $85,000. And vote 45, annual license fees for the electronic health information system, $160,000. Under vote 45, professional service the Cubans $400,000, and vote 45, increase in supplies, PHC $200,000. A total of 2.034.4, a total of $2,034,400. Recurrent revenue 2021-2022. Madam Speaker, the revenue estimates for 2021-22 is EC $134.34 million. This represents a 6.1% increase over the 2020-21 approved revised estimates of EC $126.64 million. The estimated revenues from local source is $48.2 million compared to approved estimates of $36.9 million and an outturn of $48.7 million in 2020-2021. Total local revenues will be generated from two main areas: tax revenue and non-tax revenue, fees, fines, permits, rents, interest, and licenses, etc. Madam Speaker, budget support from FCDO will contribute $23.6 million, or EC $86.14 million, or 64.12% of the recurrent budget. Of the budget support, $0.493 million, or EC 1.8 million, will be towards access subsidy, and let me repeat that, please, Madam Speaker. Of the budget support, £0.493 million, or EC 1.8 million, will go towards access subsidy, and £2.9 million, or EC 10.7 million, will go towards technical cooperation and capacity building. The pound, Madam Speaker, is at exchange rate of 3.65 to the pound. Capital items. Madam Speaker, at the beginning of my presentation, I shared a number of capital projects my government will continue to pursue in the new year. In support thereof, I now share that the capital expenditure for 2020-21 is estimated to be $69.75 million. It is our continued expectation that expenditure in this area will spill off into the economy, thereby stimulating the private sector. The classification are as follows. Economic infrastructure development of $54.49 million, or 78.72%. Social infrastructure development of EC 10.43 million, or 14.95%. Education, 2.15 million, or 3.08%. Public administration of EC 1.73 million, or 2.49%. Statistical research and miscellaneous projects of 0.3 million, or 0.44%. Agriculture services of 0.23 million, or 0.32%. The capital budget will be funded with the UK government FCDO providing EC 28.36 million, or 36.49%, the European Union support amounting to EC 25.51 million, or EC 36.57%, UKCIF through CDB providing EC 20 million, or 28.67%, and remaining EC 0.88 million, or 1.27% from other local budget and other funding partners. Capital expenditure for the period 2021-22 budget is estimated to be EC $69.75 million. Overall budget, recurrent and capital. The total recurrent expenditure for 2021-22 is budgeted at EC $136.34 million. The capital expenditure for 2021-2022 is estimated to amount to 69.79 million. Therefore, Madam Speaker, the total budget allocation for the fiscal year 2021-2022 is 206.09 million. $206.09 million. I now share with the House, Madam Speaker, allocation by ministries. The recurrent budget reflects a number of policies and programs aimed at moving government towards fiscal sustainability. The recurrent budget is used to facilitate salaries, wages, and operational expenses of the ministries and departments across government. The breakdown of the allocation for the 2021-22 recurrent budget by ministry is as follows. The Office of the Deputy Governor receives 31.24 million, or 23.09% of the overall budget. The Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, 24.22 million, or 17.91%. The Ministry of Health and Social Services receives 21.57 million, or 15.95%. The Office of the Premier, 14.15 million, or 10.46%. The Ministry of Communication and Works received 12.78 million, or 9.45%. The Ministry of Education, Youth Affairs and Sports, 11.57 million, or 8.56%. The Ministry of Agriculture and the Environment is allocated 6.65 million, or 4.92%. The Royal Montserrat Police Service is 7.55 million, or 5.58%. And the balance of 6.55 million, or 4.8% of the budget, is allocated among other services of government, which includes Legislative Assembly, Judiciary Services, as well as the Office of the Auditor General. For ease of reference, Madam Speaker, the full set of allocation is detailed in the estimates of revenue and expenditure tabled in this Honourable House. Allocation by functional classification. Madam Speaker, the budget has been classified according to the 10 functions of government developed by the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. To allow for global comparisons, the recurrent budget resources are allocated as follows. General Public Service, 31.9%. Defense, 1.3%. Public Order and Safety, 8%. Economic Affairs, 32.5%. Environmental Protection, 0.7%. Housing and Community Amenities, 0.6%. Health, 11.2%. Recreation, Culture and Religion, 2.4%. Education, 6.4%. And Social Protection, 4.7%. Madam Speaker, I wish to acknowledge and express thanks. The past year has been unprecedented. We can no longer operate as though we are in a protective bubble, a safe haven, isolated from the impact of global crisis. No. COVID-19 has shattered all such illusions and shown we are as vulnerable as our regional counterparts. However, Madam Speaker, I believe, as a people, we have shown great fortitude and resourcefulness in our response to COVID-19. And furthermore, we are one of the few nations on earth that can claim to have been COVID-free for so many months of the previous year. Such strength and resilience cannot go unacknowledged. Therefore, I pay tribute to all the residents of Montserrat for working together for our collective safety over the past year. I also acknowledge the contribution of Majesty's government to the FCDO and the UK Caribbean Investment Fund for providing budgetary support and technical assistance in advancing our development and relief programs. I want to recognize the contribution of the Governor as we continue to work together in a manner that places the development of Montserrat and its people in the forefront. Madam Speaker, my government recognizes the substantial budgetary support received from the European Union. We applaud the effort of the Commission in continually facilitating our development needs and recovery efforts, and welcome our further partnering in a post-Brexit world. We express our sincere appreciation for the support of international and regional organizations in providing a sense of stability, enabling greater policy coordination, and in this regard, Madam Speaker, we thank UNICEF, UNESCO, UNECLAC, PAHO, CARICOM, and the OECS Secretariat for their continued support. We applaud the continued work and support of the CDB and CARTAC in the provision of technical assistance and policy advice. Finally, we want to publicly acknowledge, endorse, and commend the work of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank through its insightful governor and staff in manufacturing financial stability and providing fiscal policy support to Montserrat and the wider OECS region. Most importantly, Madam Speaker, my government wishes to express sincere gratitude to all frontline workers, essential service workers, officials in the various ministries and departments, the private sector, service clubs and organizations, all who continue to work beyond the call of duty during this ongoing crisis. Thank you very much for your support. Madam Speaker, 1 year ago, I stood in this House and spoke of the unprecedented risk and uncertainty for our world and our economies in the early stages of COVID-19. Today, whilst much of this uncertainty remains, we know so much more. And with today's budget, my government presents a vision for the new normal for Montserrat, in which we can keep our population safe, deliver our major transformational projects, and realize opportunities that position Montserrat to be more agile and growth-ready than ever before. Madam Speaker, it is in Montserrat's DNA to take adversity and to turn it into opportunity. It is a fate that has been forced upon us too many times in this last century. Through storms, volcano disasters, and now a new microscopic enemy, COVID-19. Montserrat's path to self-sufficiency is never without its turmoil. On the brighter side, Madam Speaker, we are perhaps more attuned and resilient than any other country on earth in facing this task. Our journey towards a sustainable economy may seem long, but we never stop moving forward. And with this budget, I predict a giant leap toward that future. Madam Speaker, it is no small task. When our budget is reliant upon reducing aid budget and constrain external funding agencies to provide an excellent level of service to our people, whilst investing in critical infrastructure. This coming year will see the completion of the two major airport projects: the hospital, the port, from detailed design to commencement of construction, the commissioning of the 750-kilowatt solar energy plant, the restoration of critical buildings at the secondary school, the completion of social housing work streams. All of this means better jobs for our people, opportunities for growth, and a signal to the world that our small island can achieve big things. Madam Speaker, as John F. Kennedy reminds us, the word crisis in Chinese is comprised of two characters, one meaning danger, the other meaning opportunity. I believe crisis means the same thing for us here at home. As we continue to keep our guard against the dangers of our time, we will relentlessly seek opportunities for recovery, growth, and inspiration for this generation, and for those who look back in the future to how we collectively rose to this moment. Madam Speaker, may God continue to bless and protect Montserrat. I thank you. Second motion, no. Second is no. Second is no. No, second is no. No, second is. Yes. Yeah. No, second in reading. Second motion.
I recognize the Honourable Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion for the second reading of the bill shortly entitled Appropriation Bill 2021.
I recognize the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to move a motion for the adjournment of this Honourable House until Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021 at 9 o'clock.
I recognize the Honourable Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion for the adjournment of this Honourable House until Tuesday, June 22nd at 9 a.m.
It has been moved and seconded that this Honourable House be adjourned until Tuesday, 22nd June at 9 a.m. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed, nay. Then the ayes have it. This House will be adjourned until Tuesday, June 22nd at 9 a.m.